everyone. So in this video we have a very important topic, ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. I'll tell you about what ADHD is if you ever wondered, and the ways to cope with it, how to prevent it, and my favorite way to deal with it, which I believe works for most people. So we are going to start by talking about what ADHD really is. It's a mental disorder characterized by the lack of ability to concentrate on a subject and the ability to set goals and follow them. It's actually a big problem. And people say the symptoms can decrease in the adulthood, but a lot of them actually still stay with the adults. So it's a serious problem. I would like to talk more about it, and I still believe there are ways to find ways to concentrate. I am relying on the source called the book called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life by Daniel Amen, which really changed my life. I really recommend this book. It's in the description below. I'll talk more about it later. Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder is correlated with problems in the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain which is responsible for decision making, problem solving, concentration, setting goals, and executing the plans. And people with ADHD have problems with it. One consequence of this is that they tend to be conflict seeking in order to stimulate their prefrontal cortex. So advice for those people who are dealing with conflict seeking people is to avoid escalation of the conflict. If the ADHD person is yelling at you, for example, you should not yell back in any case, and the louder is their tone of voice, the lower should be your tone of voice. Use humor to mitigate the situation, and don't really talk to escalate the conflict. Interestingly, people who have problems with prefrontal cortex and they're conflict seeking, they obviously have problems with the relationships, but they also have problems with immune system, which is really interesting. So very important is to focus on the positive. Always change your way of thinking into positivity. That actually does help your prefrontal cortex, because once you find good things in life, you find meaning, you find purpose, stimulation, and excitement, they will actually prevent the defocused state, and it will keep your prefrontal cortex engaged. So this is a really good tip, and staying focused on the positive helps you to find this meaning in life and stimulation and excitement. A lot of drugs that deal with ADHD actually are stimulant drugs, and they stimulate either dopamine or serotonin receptors. And dopamine is also known to be involved in concentration, etc. And so this is bringing us to the next point: which foods people with ADHD should eat in order to have less symptoms and to stay more concentrated more easily. These foods that I'm going to list are aimed towards leveling out the dopamine level that will help with concentration, but it is not going to be helpful for those who have serotonin overproduction and those who tend to be obsessed with something. So if you're interested about the topic about obsessive compulsive disorder, please let me know in the comments below. I'm going to talk about it later if you're interested. But the foods that are high in protein, low in carbs, and are relatively low in fat, even though fat is healthy, don't overeat it, but it is healthy. Don't totally avoid it. Avoid those easy carbs that easily break down into sugars, like pasta, bread, rice, potato. Also avoid simple sugars that are added sugars like cakes, ice cream, etc., and use more complex sugars like fruits, veggies. This diet will help you rise dopamine levels in the brain. And again, the reference is below. Change Your Brain, Change Your Life by Daniel Amen. And what's interesting, there was an experiment done when people listening to music of Mozart, their melodies, for some time. And what was interesting is that the social skills increased, impulsivity decreased, also the mood control was much more manageable from individuals who participated in this music listening study. And even more interestingly, in 70% of people whose behavior, so to say, improved after the study, maintained this good behavior levels for next 6 months without any intervention. So possibly switching your playlist could actually help you concentrate. And not saying to listen to the music and do your work at the same time, because that is going to distract your brain and not really make you focus. But in your free time, listening to those classical music pieces, Mozart as an example, may help. And also, there was an experiment about generation of so-called beta waves in people, how this improves concentration. So the different kind of brain waves that our brain produces, this was particularly aimed at the beta waves, and you can learn more about it if you want to. But the idea was actually quite simple, is to make children watch some game screen. When their beta increase, the game continues. But once their beta waves drop, the game stops. And so with this kind of training, children were able to become more concentrated, stay much more productive. And also, it's important to have clear goals for anybody. Going back to this meaningfulness and purpose theory, that once you have that, you are much more engaged in your activity. What was interesting about some ADHD patients is that, well, they seem to be very distracted and disorganized in daily mundane tasks that they don't like. Once they find something they're really interested in, they even excel and even sometimes beat people who don't have this disorder. So just finding something that you're passionate about and you want to keep learning and learning and learning and doing and doing and doing is going to really help you in life, no matter if you have ADHD problem or you don't have. So this was the scientific take on this. In general, we can summarize that ADHD is a disorder of the brain that is characterized by the decreased level of prefrontal activity in some individuals. Also, there are other cases, like for example, beta wave generation, and it can be improved and stabilized with healthy diet, with listening to music and finding purpose in your life that you can want to pursue and keep living a healthy lifestyle. This is the first part. And in the second part, I'll tell you about the magic of reading, which I believe helps everybody concentrate and everybody should read. Okay, on to the next video. If you are at the job, if you're in school, at work, with your family, you want to be able to submerge in the moment. You want to concentrate on the things you have to do, on your goals, and then pursue them. First of all, figuring out your goals is not easy. You have to have some level of maturity for that. But then pursuing them is also takes effort and it's challenging. Everybody who has any goal and who has ever done this knows how challenging it is to pursue goals. So what first quality you need for achieving goals is concentration. A lot of media nowadays is exactly oriented towards consuming your concentration. If you think that watching a movie from beginning to end means that you have good concentration, that's not true. Because those movies, they are built that way to capture your attention. It's not your brain is putting effort into this, it's you are being a product of their system. Same goes for browsing websites. If you think, oh, I can sit watch Facebook for so long, for example, YouTube for hours and hours at once, then I have good concentration. This is a misleading statement, because concentration is really relevant to the topic when you're talking about something you're putting effort into. Watching video, you're putting very little effort. Much more effort you would put if you were to solve a problem or figure out how to get that promotion and what to do your job to get that promotion. So things like this, again, they are cultivated from young age. Performance at school, in order to get into good university, get a good job later, directly depends on your ability, or your child's ability to concentrate. How do you develop that concentration? We talked about video games in a bit in the previous video, and no, it's not by playing video games for most people. That would be just distracting. It is actually go for a walk. So that's a good idea. You go for a walk with me today, get some greenery around you. Being able to calm your brain is the first step to concentration. Being in a state without distraction, like in the nature, and knowing how the state feels for you, how the concentration state feels for you when you are working, when you're thinking, when you're setting your goals. Get into the state of concentration and do what things are pleasant for you. But most of the time, for adults, it will be to turn off notifications, to turn off. How do you cultivate this kind of ability since young age? Because again, like many other things, this starts from young age. I'll give you an answer. Wait for it. It's Reading. Reading books. I repeat again, reading books. Not reading websites, not reading blogs, not watching YouTube videos. It's reading books. Now let me tell you. So lots of people are gonna say, books are expensive, you can't really buy so many books as you need, and a lot of good information is present on websites. Okay, I agree with this point, but here is my answer to that. Finding a good website, you can find them. There are some good science news, for example, or Nature Archive, those websites that contain published papers, research journals. But is this where you're gonna get your information? Or most likely you're gonna go to YouTube, some other bits of information posting, Instagram, other places like this, where there's a little bit of information here and there, but you feel like you learned something, you accomplished something just because you went to the website. And there's a problem, a little bit at a time. You will agree with me that watching something or listening to something is easier than reading it. So when you are listening to reading, yes, you get new information, but it does not develop your concentration. Concentration comes when you are doing something for a long period of time, and reading takes a lot of effort to concentrate, to stay in the topic. And maybe you have noticed before that when you read the book, your brain starts to wander. It's wandering around and maybe getting new creative ideas, things like this. That's what you want. Obviously, don't wander off too far, but get into this meditative state and continue in it. You'll train your brain to get into this meditative state and you'll solve many problems. So this happens when you are reading. When you're a kid, your parents will be reading to you, and you'll get those nice textbooks or books with paintings in them, pictures. You're gonna imagine. It will simplify your imagination process. So instead of reading some abstract letters that look black and white and totally boring to a kid, probably you're gonna see a story that's gonna engage and keep you engaged for a longer time. But it develops a habit of reading. Even if you're a child, you cannot do it yourself. Then when you grow up, you want to read more. You want to concentrate on something for a longer time. You want to read your textbook. You want to pay attention to your teacher in classroom. And you want to be a better human. When you're concentrating, your mind partially is wandering. You don't notice it maybe. It's subconscious, but it is wandering out there. And so you get what you want in life from this experience and observations your brain is doing while you're working on something else. But not when you're distracted. Because when you're distracted, your brain is taken up by something almost completely. And yes, in the background is still learning. Probably not what you wanted. Then when you are totally grown up, you're gonna go to maybe university, and there are huge amounts of information. And if you don't concentrate on this information, the classes are gonna go by and you're gonna procrastinate. Nobody wants to procrastinate in the university. To just finish this by saying that reading is really activity that will make you a better human. It will make you concentrate. And also browsing websites. You should factor this out of your daily routine if you want to be concentrated. Don't even think that, oh, I'm gonna take a break from studying or from work or from my busy family life and just to browse a bit of internet, because it's gonna distract your attention even for the next day. I mean, you're gonna wake up a bit more refreshed, but if you keep doing this every day, this is gonna become your daily routine and you're gonna have no attention by the end of the day with this. I mean, if you have worked really hard all day and you want to distract yourself a bit, that's fine, but you have to control what you distract yourself with for how long, and it really has to be after your productive time. Otherwise, you're not going to have any productive time. While you're reading, you don't have around yourself all those blinking news advertisements. The book is not meant there to engage your attention. You are the one who is learning from the book. The book was written by some wise people, hopefully, a long time ago. Contains lots of precious information that people have learned and put into this book. Years of experience, their lifetimes of experience. You are being able to touch it, to read it. It is a really precious experience. You have to be grateful for possibility of reading those books. So yeah, with those things said, I hope you really enjoy reading, that you concentrate on many things, you stay a concentrated person, interested in what you're doing, that you know what your goals in life are and how to achieve them. And it all starts with reading. Okay. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. I think this topic is fascinating, just like anything related to neuroscience and brain pathologies, as well as just how to live a healthy lifestyle. Nobody said that eating healthy food is going to hurt you in the end, after all, even if you don't have any disorder. And so share this with people who you think would be interested in this, or just because you thought this topic was fascinating too. Like it, share it, subscribe to my channel for more videos about all things education. Until next time, bye!